Topic 9, Counseling in a Multicultural Setting. So, many times when you're counseling, you can't choose your clients, and you would get clients from a variety of backgrounds and a variety of cultures, different countries, and especially when you're in a hospital setting, you're going to meet people from all walks of life. Now, the issue is that when clients are from a different background, sometimes this becomes a barrier for effective counseling to take place, right? So, how does it become a barrier? Because sometimes it's not easy to understand certain cultural biases, right? So, each culture has their own set of thinking patterns, their own ideas, right? So I remember once I had to work with a colleague who believed that no, it's not right to cook this particular item of food, right? If you're cooking, you have to cook and give it to so many people, right? So that is something that comes based on her culture. Some people might think, okay, that's madness, but then you have to respect that person's culture, right? And there is also a chance that when the culture is different, you have to be mindful of the counseling techniques you use, because sometimes the counseling techniques might be inappropriate, right? So for example, I remember once one of my former professors said that she was going to recommend music therapy for a child, but the background the child came for, they believe music is not good. So then at that point you can't force them to use that technique. And another barrier that happens in multicultural counseling is language barriers, right? So sometimes if you don't understand the language, you might misunderstand what they're saying, or else you might have to work with an interpreter, and you're not 100% sure whether the interpreter conveys exactly what you want them to convey, right? So what can we do when it comes to multicultural counseling, right? So we use a model called SCTM, which is skill counseling training model, and there are skills that are divided into three stages. Your textbook explains this more, right? So in the first stage is exploring, where we try to explore and see the scope of the problem, what's actually going on, and to understand the client, right? Understanding how they view the situation, what their view of it is, what their background is like, and then take action. So the skills that we could use in multicultural counseling is role playing. I think I explained role playing even when we did behavioral counseling, right? How we take on the role of a person and how we act and teach clients how to utilize the skills that we have taught them during the sessions, right? Then even relaxation activities and relaxation exercises. This is more like the lifeguarding counseling, all right? Because a relaxed mind is important to do anything. You can face fears, you can do your exams, everything, if your mind is relaxed. So which is why we use the technique of simple relaxation or deep muscle relaxation, right? Where we teach them to monitor their breathing, right? Because I mean, those of you who know, okay, if a person's anxious, it affects their rate of respiration, it affects how much, right, how much oxygen they take in. So through relaxation we help them to almost, right, to focus on their breathing, right, which helps them relax their bodies, right? And so then they are able to uh, work out, they're able to face their fears, or right, whatever the situation they're going through. Then thought and imagery, right? So imagery technique is yet a nice lovely technique that we use, but it has to be done under supervision, and unless you're trained to do it, you should not do it, right? So imagery, especially we use it with victims who have been subjected to all kinds of trauma, where we teach them even to imagine a safe place, and each time memories flood or they feel unsafe, they could always visualize this safe place and go there where they feel totally safe, right? It's also used for people who have been bedridden for a long time or imprisoned, right? So imagery really helps you calm down. It helps you uh, feel that, it helps you divert your thoughts onto something more productive, right? And there's systematic desensitization, which is the method that we use to break down a fear, right? So for example, just take a person who is scared of heights, right? So a person is scared of heights, sometimes if it's really at severe level, they wouldn't even climb a step, right? So you can break down the fear into simple steps, like, okay, you just climb one step today, right? And then we couple it with relaxation. Okay, when they're able to do that without any kind of anxiety reaction, we help them then to climb two steps, right? Again, they might feel all panicky and all, but eventually when we keep relaxing the client and getting them to do that again and again, right, eventually it will help them overcome their fear of heights, right? So I had a friend who was scared of a certain insect, and when she was asking me like, okay, how can I overcome this, so I said, okay, let's break down the fear into manageable units. Start by maybe looking at pictures of that insect, right? Then from pictures, you can, if pictures are manageable, we could go to videos. From videos, maybe we could have them maybe in a glass box totally away and you watch them, right? And then maybe you're in a room but at a distance with the insect, right? And then you take a step closer. So like that, you break down the fear into manageable units, and then you work from the easiest up to the hardest, which is systematic desensitization, and it is used on numerous occasions, right? So I remember watching this medical drama also, Grey's Anatomy, right? If you guys have heard of it, I remember there was this child who was really scared about having to take a blood test, that he ran around the hospital, and he had a heart condition, and the pediatric cardiologist just couldn't handle it, right? So what happens is, the nurse who came in, he understood that fear, right? And what he said was, okay, this is what actually happens, right? And he got the other nurse to take a sample of his blood, right? And when the child saw that it was not something to get really anxious about and all that, right, he was able to, one thing was, the child was able to, you know give his hand during a blood test, and it also was, they were also able he was also able to face up to cardiac surgery, right? It was all about the way the nurse handled the situation at that time. Sorry, not the nurse, the medical intern. Yeah. Right. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 9. Chapter 9, yeah. One, multicultural counseling.